The damage that Donald Trump, the Republican Party, and all of its supporters have done to this country is going to take generations upon generations to heal, bro. And it's all because we broken the trust of our allies and lost the respect of our enemies. And right now, I see the United States as the drunken husband that is putting his hands on his wife, the wife being the world. And we are forcing the world to divorce us. And just like the man that gets divorced that completely screwed up his marriage, we are going to be left alone and penniless and most likely turn into self-harm. And what self-harm in America looks like is the civilians of this country paying the price for the dumbass decisions that our leadership has made. Extreme poverty and also just like overall horrible treatment towards the citizens, even more than what they're doing right now. And honestly, what the Trump administration is doing right now really is not that much different as far as like the result, because we've been doing shit like this for centuries, bro. But what Donald Trump and all his lackeys did is they broke the agreement that they had with the world. Because essentially everybody was just trying to stack up pape together. Like they were okay with dismantling other countries that had the resources that they wanted, that we wanted and needed, as long as everybody else was allowed to do it and as long as they weren't infringing upon each other, right? Obviously, there's a lot to this. I'm just simplifying it for the sake of this video because I'm not the type of nigga that's gonna go deep into this shit. You know what I'm saying? There's obviously other people out there that are gonna be able to convey this in a way that's more knowledgeable, but this is like a nigga just explaining this shit to you in a barbershop. This is how I see it, bro. You know what I mean? And pretty much what Donald Trump wants to get back to is the strongest taking over what they want, but the rest of the world does not want that shit. And the rest of the world doesn't want that because there were so many lives lost whenever we were doing shit like that. We honestly should not and cannot get back to that. And the rest of the world is gonna most likely put their foot down. And the way that I see them doing that is by saying fuck you to US bonds. And when they do that, it's gonna essentially crash the market. They're gonna hit us in our pockets. And again, we're gonna be left alone. We're gonna be left penniless. And honestly, once all this is over with, which it will be, because if you America is fighting too many fights at the same time. They're fighting the Trump administration itself because there are people that are disagreeing with it and honestly very fucking incompetent, have no idea what they're doing. So that's going to lead to the fall eventually. And also, they're fighting American citizens. American citizens are pissed off, especially in Minnesota. The more that they wild out and try to force their will onto the American people, the more we're going to fight back. And also, they're fighting the rest of the world, bro. Like, yeah, we have some allies, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Especially if they do devalue the US dollar and they move away from it. That's going to completely tank the US economy. And if we can't fund ourselves, we can't fund a war. And since the world doesn't trust us in our decision making skills, because obviously the majority of Americans have no idea what the fuck they're doing and what they want, because we voted Donald Trump into office 2 fucking times. And for some people, they voted 3 times for him. So the world sees that as, yeah, Americans have no idea what they're doing. Obviously, there's people that disagree with him and don't want him in power. But if the majority of them want shit like this to happen and are okay with making it so that the world powers can do whatever they want and take over what country they want to take over, they are not to be trusted. They can't be left to make their own decisions. So what I could see happening is what happened in Germany after World War II and having other people occupy the country. Obviously, this is not set in stone. I obviously have no idea. I can't tell the future, but that is very much a reality that could happen. Occupation within our country. I don't know how that looks since this country's huge. You know what I mean? But I could definitely see at the very least travel bans. Or just complete isolation. And American citizens are going to suffer, bro. And that's why I highly encourage you to build community within your city, your town, because nobody's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And it's very frustrating, bro, because Black people have been talking about this kind of shit for years. How terrible American imperialism is, but people are only upset because it's affecting them now. And honestly, shame on the world leaders for allowing this shit to happen, because you got people like Russia, you got people like China that thought Donald Trump and the Trump administration were not going to be smart enough or would be weaker or would be too weak and cowardly to do shit like this. And look at us now. Donald Trump is trying to take over fucking Greenland. Like Putin and them, bro. Like I don't know, bro. I'd be pissed off if I was him. Whatever leverage he thought he had on Trump, Trump obviously doesn't care. Obviously doesn't care. Putin been pump faking, bro. Nigga been pump faking like shit and let Donald Trump do whatever the fuck he wants. Essentially, I don't get it, bro. I don't get this shit, and I'm not one for political violence at all. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like back in the day, we wouldn't have been able to get to this point. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't want to say too much on here, but I'm just saying, I don't think that certain people would allow this to happen. And obviously shit like that shouldn't happen because like you should not be able to take the life of somebody else just because you disagree with their opinion. I'm not for the death penalty at all. I'm not for prisons. I don't think that they add to the betterment of society, especially whenever you have living as white supremacist society, because most of the time these systems that are supposed to keep us protected are going to be used to weaponize against black people, brown people, poor people. We're definitely living in scary times, but it's not that much different than what we've lived in the past. The only difference is it's happening to white people as well. That's just the realness of it, bro. This everything that we're going through is happening because of white supremacy. It's not because it's a class issue. If it was just a class issue, it would be so much easier to combat. Because if it was just class, it would just be class. But we live under white supremacy, and the things that hold up white supremacy are capitalism and also patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? If our issues were just capitalism and if our issues were just patriarchy, so much easier. But since there's an added racial aspect and a sense of superiority to it, it's different, bro, because at the end of the day, this country was formed on white supremacy, and the rich elite have been fooling the poor whites and honestly black people and brown people as well into thinking that if they just play the game like they play the game, one day they will be able to bump elbows and crack terrible jokes with the rich white elites. The chances of you being even like making six figures are so low, bro. It takes so much luck and so much opportunity and who you know in order to get to certain points and to get to a certain level of wealth. And even when you do make six figures or even if you make like 600,000, you are much closer to becoming poor than you are to becoming a rich millionaire elite. The more people that we have are able to get to deprogram white supremacy from their brain, the more likely we will be able to break free of this. But I don't know, man. Shit is not looking very good. And honestly, I don't think that we can even vote out of this. And I'm somebody that definitely advocates for voting. I definitely think that voting matters, because if voting didn't matter, they wouldn't have fought so hard and so long to make it so that like black people can't vote or make our votes count less. I don't think we're going to be able to vote out of this because again, we lost the trust of the world, and Donald Trump and the rest of his party has done way too much damage to our reputation for us to be able to come out of this shit, bro. Like I'm still going to vote, and I'm still going to, like, you know what I'm saying, be involved in my community, mutual aid wise, but I don't think voting is going to get us out of this shit, bro. I don't know, man. Like unless the Democratic Party really like grows a backbone and the Republicans that oppose Donald Trump really grow a backbone, voting is not going to matter, because our vote is not going to make the rest of the world comfortable, because we're wilding out to such a crazy extent, bro. It's ridiculous. Like the fact that Donald Trump wants to take over Greenland and Venezuela, and he's doing it so openly and so callously, just lying, bro. Like NATO took away our intelligence. NATO stopped sharing intelligence with the United States of America, and that is fucking scary, because it just goes to show how far gone this country is. And it is very easy to get nihilistic in times like this. You know what I'm saying? And what I've been saying is very much like a little nihilistic, I'm not gonna lie. However, there is a silver lining, bro. And that silver lining is regimes like this do not last very long. And it might not end today, might not end tomorrow, but damn it, it's gonna end some point in time. Because one, this administration is very incompetent. And the violence that we're seeing right now is a result of them knowing that the jig is up. These are death throws, because when you back a wounded animal into a corner, it's going to start wilding out. It's going to be throwing lefts, rights, and hooks. And it's because it knows that it's in danger. It knows that its life just might end. And this MAGA shit is over with, bro. and they're trying to commit these senseless acts of violence in order to try and keep some semblance of power. Whenever you have an incredibly incompetent, cruel, and insecure group of individuals leading any kind of like movement, movement's not gonna last, bro. All we have to do is stay strong, build up our community, and continue resisting. Because one day this shit is gonna pass, and once it does, we're gonna be shaking ass. we're gonna be shaking ass, bro. You know what I'm saying? We just got to get to that point to where we're able to survive, man. That's the key. Resist and survive. I don't even know if this is gonna sound coherent. I was literally just going off the top of my head, bro. And I would encourage you to seek out other people who have more knowledge on stuff like this, because this is essentially just a nigga talking to you at the barbershop. There are terms and different agreements that I was talking about that have names to them. You know, say, oh fuck, I wanted to talk about the Canadian Prime Minister. We're gonna look at this video real quick, because this was very fucking powerful. And it was essentially him just saying that the world needs to take off their blinders and act accordingly and understand what the fuck is going on right now. This was at the World Economic Forum, and this is Canada's Prime Minister speaking right here, I believe.
It seems that every day we're reminded that we live in an era of great power rivalry, that the rules-based order is fading, that the strong can do what they can and the weak must suffer what they must. And this aphorism of Thucydides is presented as inevitable, as the natural logic of international relations reasserting itself. And faced with this logic, there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. Well, it won't. So what are our options? In 1978, the Czech dissident Václav Havel, later president, wrote an essay called The Power of the Powerless. And in it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And his answer began with a greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: workers of the world unite. He doesn't believe it. No one does. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists, not through violence alone, but through the participation of ordinary people in rituals they privately know to be false. Havel called it...
I love the sentiment, but I think it's so late and it's frustrating, bro. Holy shit, man. It's so frustrating because, like, America's been bullying everybody for so long, and I hate that we got to the point that where it's at right now, where it's so fucking bad to where everybody's like, okay, we got to do something. We got to stop doing this shit, bro. We can't let these niggas do whatever the fuck they want to do. I don't know. I do like that he said that we have to stop being delusional, pretty much, because all this shit only happens whenever you are delusional and you're complacent, and that's why shit like this continues to happen.
Living within a lie. The system's power comes not from its truth, but from everyone's willingness to perform as if it were true. And its fragility comes from the same source. When even one person stops performing, when the greengrocer removes his sign, the illusion begins to crack. Friends, it is time for companies and countries to take their signs down. For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful, and American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals, and we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality.
And this is why I'm upset with it, because, again, everybody is complicit in this shit. Everybody was benefiting from it, but whenever they felt like shit was getting a little too uncomfortable, we started doing a little too much. It's an issue. And that's the problem with, like, capitalism, you know what I'm saying, and white supremacy. It fucks over way too many people. But then whenever you feel like, oh, this is affecting me, We got to stop this. It's too late. You let the evil people become way too powerful. This is the shit that happens when you're complicit with it. And like these statements like this are cool and all, but it's just like you can't deny the damage that's been done, the damage that you've allowed to happen, the lives you were allowed to get lost whenever they didn't need to be lost to begin with, bro. All for capitalistic gain. Shit's fucked up.
This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons, tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. The multilateral institutions on which the middle powers have relied, the WTO, the UN, the COP, the architecture, the very architecture of collective problem solving are under threat. And as a result, many countries are drawing the same conclusions, that they must develop greater strategic autonomy in energy, food, critical minerals, in finance and supply chains. And this impulse is understandable. A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. But let's be clear-eyed about where this leads. A world of fortresses will be poorer, more fragile, and less sustainable. And there's another truth. If great powers abandon even the pretense of rules and values for the unhindered pursuit of their power and interests, the gains from transactionalism will become harder to replicate.
So again, this is essentially the world divorcing us, bro. And they're putting their foot down. And I hope that they continue to stand on this and they don't bend or fold. And I do think they will continue to have this kind of approach with it. And it's most likely going to ramp up the more that Donald Trump starts to wild out, because there's been other countries like France and I want to say Sweden, I'm not sure, that have been sending troops to Greenland to protect from an invasion, because that's essentially what we're trying to do. We're trying to invade them. And Donald Trump can say he's trying to buy it out all he wants and try and say he's trying to do it peacefully. They want to invade. What they did in Venezuela was an invasion. What they're trying to do right now in Greenland is an invasion. And the world powers, besides us, are trying to make it so that that shit does not happen. And again, I think that they're most likely, from what he said so far, they're most likely going to hit us in our pockets and try to make our economy collapse. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue watching this whole thing, because he's most likely going to be saying the same shit. But it's frustrating, bro. I mean, I did already watch this shit myself. But if you want to watch this fully, it's from the Journal. Just search up Canadian Prime Minister speech, and it'll probably be like one of the first things that you see on there. Again, I'm very frustrated with the world powers, bro, because it's like they allowed this shit to happen, but once they got affected by it, all of a sudden it's not okay. Once they don't benefit from it enough, and once America starts doing too much, even though they let us get to this point of power and influence, it's doing way too much. Hey, I'm glad something's happening, but like, fuck, man, we didn't have to get to this point to where it's like so many people's lives are at risk. And that's what happens when you play the game of capitalism. Everybody gets fucked over, even you, if you're benefiting from it, bro. Don't bend, don't fold, keep fighting, man. Keep living, keep surviving, because one day it's all going to be over. Trump administration is going to be out of power, and things will hopefully get better. So I have hope that things will actually get better. But if you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I appreciate you for the view. If you like the video, go ahead and give me a like. If you like what I'm talking about, give me a subscription and hit that bell. I'll be talking about music and some more shit. To my loyal subs, I love you, baby. Yeah. But that's the end of the video.